6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. My name is Jack Preston, and I had recently retired from what I told everyone was government contracting, mostly security consulting, which required me to travel a lot. Sounds simple enough, right? But the truth was more complicated. I was a man with secrets I never wanted to share. In our peaceful neighborhood, Willow Creek, everyone knew me as just a guy who kept to himself. No one suspected that under the surface, my life was a carefully guarded facade, designed to shield me, and, more importantly, my daughter from a world of pain that neither of us fully understood. The hardest part of my life wasn't my work. It wasn't the constant travel, it was the aftermath of a car crash that took my wife from me. She had been everything to me, and in the blink of an eye, she was gone, leaving behind our daughter, Emily. Emily was only 6 at the time, and the grief, the trauma, it changed her in ways no child should have to experience. A drunk driver had taken her mother's life, and now Emily had to live with the kind of fear, the kind of nightmares, no child should have to know. She'd been left with a scar, one that wasn't visible but hurt just as much. I did what any father would do. I protected her the best way I could. We moved to Willow Creek to start fresh, to leave the past behind, to give her a shot at healing. And for a while, it worked. Things seemed to settle. But little did I know, our lives were about to take another unexpected turn, the kind that would change everything. Emily, despite everything she'd been through, was trying. She was brave, but the nights were the worst. She couldn't sleep without waking up screaming, panicking. That's when we got Atlas. Atlas was a 3-year-old German Shepherd, trained not just as a dog, but as a lifeline. He was more than a companion. He was her shield. He could sense when Emily's panic was rising. He could intervene when her nightmares were too real. He was the calm in her storm. But here's where things get complicated. Willow Creek was a quiet, picture-perfect neighborhood. The kind of place you move to when you want peace, safety. But in every community, there's always one person who believes they have control over everything. And that person was Vivian Clark. She was the president of the Homeowners Association, and for 4 years, she ruled Willow Creek like it was her personal kingdom. Vivian was wealthy, sharp, and, let's just say, had a way of getting what she wanted. She had her eyes on every detail. Lawn care, mailbox colors, the neighbors' financial records, you name it. If it could be controlled, Vivian was on top of it. But she wasn't just an overzealous HOA president. No, Vivian was hiding something. And when she noticed Atlas, she saw a problem. Not just any problem, she saw a threat. It started innocently enough. I was at the playground with Emily and Atlas one afternoon, letting her throw a tennis ball, something she enjoyed, something that let her feel like a normal kid again. Vivian approached us with that smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. I'll never forget the way she said it, loud enough for the other parents to hear. "Mr. Preston, we need to talk about your animal situation." Something about the way she said animal situation rubbed me the wrong way. But I didn't let it show. I simply asked, "What seems to be the problem, Vivian?" Her response was cold, precise. "That dog poses potential liability issues for our community. I've done some research into federal regulations, and I believe his certification may not be up to standard for residential areas like ours." I felt my jaw tighten. "Atlas is a certified PTSD service dog," I replied, trying to stay calm. "His documentation exceeds all legal requirements." But Vivian wasn't backing down. "Maybe, but I have connections who can verify these things properly," she said. And with that, she demanded I provide more documentation: vet records, training certifications, handler qualifications. The list was absurd. But it didn't stop there. Over the next week, I received letter after letter from Vivian, each one more demanding than the last. She wasn't just questioning Atlas's certification. She was digging into our lives. The way she knew which buttons to push, which rules to twist. It was unsettling. Then came the moment that changed everything. One day, I was at the community mailbox with Emily and Atlas. It was a normal Tuesday, or so I thought. But there she was again, Vivian, appearing from nowhere like she had been watching us. This time, her words were sharper, the tone colder. "Mr. Preston, I've been in contact with people who raise serious concerns about your dog's certification." I clenched my fists but kept my voice steady. "What kind of concerns?" She made it clear. "The type that might require federal verification. Your dog may not just be a PTSD service animal, Mr. Preston. There's something more going on here." That's when it hit me Vivian wasn't just annoyed with the dog. She was scared. And whatever she was hiding, she saw Atlas as a threat to her secrets. I didn't know it then, but this was just the beginning of a fight that would turn our world upside down. The following week, things escalated. Vivian's harassment went from strange requests to full-blown surveillance. She would show up at the playground, clipboard in hand, photographing Atlas, taking notes on his every move. She knew when Emily was out for her walks. She knew when Atlas needed his training sessions. It was beyond creepy, and it didn't stop. She was everywhere. I started getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Emergency consultations, I told the neighbors. The truth was, I was digging deeper into Vivian's past. And what I found was chilling. Her financial records didn't add up. The HOA was under her tight control, and she'd systematically forced families to rehome their pets. Atlas wasn't the first target. No, she had been eliminating dogs from the community for years. Each time, she used the same tactics: harassment, legal loopholes, manipulation. It was all starting to make sense. But it wasn't until the final straw that I realized just how far Vivian was willing to go. One Thursday morning, I left for what I told Emily was an important security consultation. I was 200 miles away when Mrs. Chun, our neighbor, called. She was panicked. "Mr. Preston, Vivian." She took Atlas. "And Emily is having a breakdown." My heart stopped. I couldn't believe it. Vivian had crossed a line I hadn't expected. She had orchestrated everything while I was gone. She had sent 2 men, impersonating health department officials, to remove Atlas. They claimed he posed a health risk, and they took him without any legal right to do so. And in the process, they shattered my daughter's world all over again. I snapped into action. I called my team. This was no longer just a personal issue. Vivian had committed a federal crime, and I was going to make sure she paid for it. I made one call: Special Agent Martinez. "We have a federal situation," I said. "I need the team here in 3 minutes." Martinez was quick. Tactical teams were deployed, helicopters were dispatched, and within hours, Willow Creek was turned into a federal crime scene. Vivian had no idea what was coming. When I finally returned, I saw my neighborhood transformed. Black SUVs lined the streets. Tactical officers were everywhere. I approached the house to find Emily, still with Atlas by her side, safe. Vivian had been caught. She was in custody, and the operation I had been running undercover for 6 months was about to collapse her entire criminal network. It turned out, Vivian had been running a money laundering operation through the HOA for years. She was using the community fees to clean drug money. And the reason she'd targeted Atlas? He was a dual-trained dog certified for both PTSD service and narcotics detection. Vivian had identified him as a threat to her operation and had tried to eliminate him. In the end, Vivian was arrested and sentenced to 15 years in prison. The HOA was dissolved, and Willow Creek started fresh. The community was free from her grip, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like home again. But the real victory wasn't just that Vivian went to prison. It was the fact that Emily, my daughter, was healing. Atlas had saved her, and in the process, he had saved us both. So now, here we are, 3 weeks later. Things are different. Emily still has her bad days, but they're fewer. The nightmares are not as frequent. And when we walk Atlas through the neighborhood, it feels peaceful. It's hard to believe how much one woman's actions could affect so many lives, but in the end, Atlas brought us together. He protected Emily when I couldn't be there. He exposed a criminal network, and in doing so, gave us back the life we were meant to have. What would you have done in my place? Would you have fought back like I did? Or would you have let Vivian win? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe in justice? Or do you think some people just take things too far? I'd love to hear your thoughts.